How is everybody doing? I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. Tis I, the Native Patriot. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to make a reaction video of me reacting to something that I've already talked about in one of my previous videos, which is the I'm homo but not LGBT video. And in the thumbnail it said, like, is there a gay agenda? And I discuss in there an interview. I talked about an interview with this kindergarten teacher from Florida, how he was outraged and discussing his outrage with some interviewer lady. And basically in this don't say gay bill, doesn't even say don't say gay in the bill, but basically the bill is a bill that forbids certain grade level teachers from talking or discussing gender ideology or sexuality to their students, which in my opinion totally legitimate. It's super creepy and super weird, and these teachers feel so entitled to want to indoctrinate and to really push their own, I guess, politics or whatever onto their students. So I'm actually going to react to that actual interview that I was talking about. Again, if you have not already, go watch that other video for context. And yeah, I'm going to minimize myself here, and then we're going to pull up that interview. And if you have not already, follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Truth Social at the Native Patriot. But here we go.
Yeah, it's twofold. It really hits hard in my heart, professionally and personally, both.
As you can see, it says kindergarten teacher.
Professionally, it truly makes me feel like I am not trusted as a professional.
Why would anybody... First of all, we'll go on to understand why maybe people don't want to trust you.
I know my kindergarten standards through and through, and nowhere in our curriculum does it have anything about teaching sexual orientation or sexual identity. So for them to say that's happening, it's kind of crazy. But we should be able to have discussions, and that's what we're...
Okay, so that's the important part of... Well, one of the important parts about this interview is he says or claims that there's nothing in his curriculum where he is going to talk about sexual identity or sexuality. And then he says, but we should have a discussion. That but we can have a discussion is very important, because you can claim all day that there's nothing in your curriculum that says we don't talk about gender ideology, but you can still have a conversation about gender ideology and sexuality. You know what I mean? Like, the no curriculum part is irrelevant to the fact that you just said that, but we should be able to have discussions about sexual identity and gender ideology.
We're encouraged to do in kindergarten. And then personally, because my kids do have questions. They want to know who my partner is in pictures outside of my classroom, and I should be able to speak to that.
So do you work?
Okay, so just because kids have questions does not mean that you have to answer them, right? Like, a kid could be like, what is this thing? And just because a kid asks that, you're not obligated to answer. Like, you can be like, you know what, like, why don't you ask your mom what that is? Or, blah, 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 blah. Like, why do you feel like you're obligated to discuss certain things with children?
Worry that you won't even be able to talk about your own personal home life? I mean, I have a child in kindergarten right now. I know exactly that my child has two teachers, one of which has a daughter at home and is single. The other is married and has 4 children. I know everything about their lives.
This is kind of, like separate from what I'm discussing, but these kind of like, this is why sometimes some people out there don't trust mainstream media sometimes, because they're supposed to be just telling stories or investigating and just telling the truth. But here's this person, the interviewer lady, who's like, well, I know everything about my children's teachers. Like, it's not a big deal. It's kind of like deflating the controversy or whatever. But it's like, that, to me, that's not normal, that you know everything about your child's teacher's personal life, whether they're gay or straight. It's really, 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 really weird because, again, there's only so many hours in a day, and how, like, obviously that her child's teacher is spending so much of class time talking about herself to her students that she knows this much about that teacher. Does that make sense?
Because
And just because, like, you're cool with it doesn't mean that other parents are cool with it. You feel me?
kid tells me.
Absolutely. You are 100% correct. That's what we do as educators. We build relationships with our kids.
And this build relationships part, it's a little troubling to me because, like, in a sense, I understand what you're saying, but you're not obligated to form like, the children should be forming relationships with each other and interacting with each other. The children should have relationships with their own family and their parents and stuff like that. And it's a little weird.
And in order to build relationships, you talk about your home life. You talk.
Yes, that's what I was just saying, is that in order to build like, I don't think you should necessarily have a relationship, like a personal relationship like that with your students, especially when you're a kindergarten teacher. Like, and this is like really why I wanted to make this video, because this is really weird to me. Like, these teachers need to get friends their own age that they can talk to about their personal lives, and not basically force little kids to listen to their stories about their personal lives. It's really weird and creepy.
Talk about what you do on the weekends. That's building community. It scares me to death that I'm not going to be able to have these conversations with my children.
You do not need to have these conversations with other people's children. As far as I can remember, I don't remember a damn thing about any of my elementary school teachers, about their husbands or wives, spouses, their personal lives. I just knew the names and we learned stuff. That's it. So, like, these teachers have such an entitlement to other people's children, and it really is just creepy.
Because they're going to ask me what I did on the weekend.
And it's unfortunate because this is going to be a super long video, but in that other video I was talking about how 10 years ago there was this, like, conservatives or religious people, whatever, went on these tirades about there being a gay agenda. And then I used to think politically different 10 years ago. I was on the left, and I thought, like, oh, these Christians or religious people or conservatives are so bigoted. There's no gay agenda. We just want to be accepted like everybody else does. And it's gotten to the point where these LGBTQ plus alphabet soup teachers are out here basically proving that there is some kind of weird agenda with their students.
I don't want to have to hide that my partner and I went paddleboarding this weekend.
The kids do not need to know that you went paddleboarding. Find people your own age to talk about your weekends with and how you went paddleboarding with your husband.
Because then they ask, well, what does partner mean, Mr. Bernard? And, I'm worried, can I tell them what it means?
No, you are not obligated to answer every single question that little kids have or your students have. You can be like, maybe you need to ask your mom about that, or I don't know, or something like that. You are not obligated to answer every little question. Not only that, sometimes I'm not sure if I believe these teachers in being like, my students ask these questions. Do they ask these questions because you're kind of pushing them and coercing them to ask these kinds of questions, like leaving little nuggets to where you're leading them to be like, oh, they're the one, my students are asking me this. Like, I didn't tell them to do it, but it's like, I don't know.
I'm also worried for my kids. I have a little girl this year who has two moms, and the kids are curious about her two moms. They want to know about her two moms. If they go.
It would be more appropriate for a kindergarten student to ask another kindergarten student about their parents versus a adult teacher talking about their spouse to little kids?
Go to her and ask her about her two moms, and she doesn't know what to say. They're going to come to me. And
if they come to you, again, you are not obligated to answer.
Ask me, and then so what do? It opens.
What do? You don't have to answer the question. You can be like, maybe you can answer, or you can go ask your mom or dad about that, and then discuss that with your parents.
Up for parents to really take some legal action against the schools and teachers. And
okay, so that's pretty much it. I had another video I want to react to, but this video is probably super long already. But this is basically that interview that I was talking about in my other, I'm gay, but I'm not LGBTQ, whatever, because of this whole weird thing with these alphabet soup teachers. It feels like they want to indoctrinate little children, and it's really creepy. And again, as I said, it's really sad to me because 10 years ago I was on the other side politically and saying like, no, these conservatives and these religious people, they're just bigots, and they just whatever. But now it's like, it feels like this is coming true 10 years later. You know what I mean? It's coming to the forefront. And I am sure, first of all, full disclosure, you guys should already know by now, I identify as someone on the right. I don't necessarily know if I consider myself conservative. There's some things that I'm conservative about, and there's things that I'm not so conservative about. But definitely, I'm a registered Republican, and I do identify as someone as on the right. But I'm sure there's even people out there that are gay and identify as LGBTQ that are on the left that even see that these teachers are creepy, and all of this like stuff that's going on with teachers, it sounds sus and it sounds weird, but they're not going to speak up because they are on the left and they consider themselves to be part of the alphabet soup community. And they will not speak up because they will be labeled as right wing. That's basically the one bullet shot or whatever. Like, in order to damage somebody completely, if you are on the left, is to just call them a right winger. So automatically they're DOA, dead on arrival. And so these people don't want to be exiled from the alphabet soup community, so they don't speak up about these kinds of things. But I'm not somebody that's part of the community. I've since divorced myself from the alphabet soup community years ago because, as I've said in plenty of videos, the LGBTQ plus community has become a political arm of a certain party that does not align with my personal values. So I've already done plenty of speaking on this video, but that's basically my reaction. If you like what you saw, subscribe, leave me some comments, blah, 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 and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.